Hey everyone, I hope that you're blessed and that you are all doing well. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me in another video. The topic for this one is the dangers of ignoring red flags in relationships. But before we get into our topic, be sure to subscribe to my channel, also share, like, and drop a comment. As always, I appreciate everyone's support. Now, let's get into this topic of ignoring the red flags when we see them. So just for the purposes of this video, when I say relationships, ignoring red flags in relationships, I'm just not talking about romantic relationships. I'm also talking about friendships or business partnerships. So basically the wide range of our typical relationship situation. So just want you to keep that in mind as we move forward in this video. So we are talking about red flags. What is a red flag? A red flag is basically our warning sign. It's a sign that there is danger ahead. A red flag tells us to be cautious as we move into a potential relationship or a potential business partnership or a potential opportunity that may come into our path or some sort of circumstance or situation. Basically, that's what a red flag is. And I want you to know, one of the reasons why I'm doing this video is to warn you that when you see the red flag, please respect the red flag. When you get that gut feeling about something someone does or says or some sort of trait that is revealed as you are dealing with a person or as you are in a situation and it comes up as a red flag, that means you are to proceed with caution. That means maybe in many cases that you should stop and maybe remove yourself from that situation or stop dealing with that person. So the red flag is a blessing to our lives. The red flag is, I believe, is part of our fight or flight response. That is a part of our physiological makeup. It's a part of our biology as well. The red flag is also a spiritual trait that we have, right? That spiritual dimension to us that lets us know, and sometimes God will show us that red flag to reveal to us to leave that person alone or that situation alone or not to take that opportunity. Another reason why I'm doing this video is to remind you all that, the red flag is your friend and not your enemy. And sometimes we get ourselves into situations unnecessarily because we ignored what we saw in the beginning. Some of us so badly want to be in relationships with certain people. Some of us so badly want to take certain opportunities. Some of us so badly want certain business partnerships or friendships. And we tend to romanticize these relationships. We tend to see only what we want to see. We tend oftentimes to also kind of like delude ourselves into thinking, okay, I can ignore that part. If I ignore that part, maybe it'll get better. And as we progress with the relationship or in that situation, we find that it gets worse and worse. And we find ourselves in situations where we are being very badly damaged. And I want you who are watching to avoid any potential damage and not to ignore the red flag or that gut feeling that we get when we see them, and to not just look at the things that we want to see in people or in situations. So that's what the red flag is. The red flag is to help us out in life. In life, we are going to suffer anyway. We are going to go through things that we need to go through that are going to be hurtful. We're going to go through things as you continue to live your life and to get older. You're going to go through even more stuff. And some of these things, these hardships that we go through in life, some of these storms and these trials and these tribulations are things that we have to go through to make us better people, that we have to go through to mature, that we have to go through to take us to where we need to be. So we can't avoid pain. Pain is going to be there, whether we want it to be there or not. But there are times in our lives, and many of us know, and some of us are, I think, maybe addicted to drama and having drama in our lives. There are certain things that we do not have to go through. And that is what the red flag is for, to prevent us from going through any unnecessary things in our lives, because we only have so much time here, and we want to make sure that our time on earth is well spent. And part of that is respecting the red flag and honoring the red flag when you see it and taking a pause when you see it, right? Now, that doesn't mean that when you see a red flag in a relationship or with people or in a certain situation that it's not for you. And many cases it may not be, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't continue on. But it does mean that you should reevaluate what you're about to get yourself into. And, oftentimes, that might call for us to be prayerful as we proceed with it. And God will give us the wisdom in how to handle the situation, although we may see a red flag, or God may tell us to leave that person alone or remove yourself from that situation. So definitely respect the red flag. So what are the potential consequences? I'm going to talk about 3 in this video, the potential consequences of not respecting these red flags. And these are pretty serious consequences here. The first one is that we put ourselves at a high risk of injury and of pain when we do not respect the red flags, when we see it, when we do not respect our guts. Our gut, the gut tells the truth. I have learned that listening to my gut has served me well in my life, and I avoided a lot of unnecessary pain and, dodged a lot of bullets with people just by listening to my gut. There was a time in my life where I would ignore the red flags and I paid the price. And I don't want you watching to pay the price, but when we do ignore the red flags, and it's something that I have done in the past and I try to avoid doing it, and I know it could be tough sometimes, especially when we really like a person, but you put yourself at a high risk of pain and of suffering unnecessarily. But here's the thing with that. Sometimes certain injuries are hard to get over, and sometimes certain injuries, if they're incurred, we may not, get through it at all. It may be the very thing that might take us out and maybe take us out of this world, period. So we don't want to put ourselves in that situation. So we want to make sure that we avoid any unnecessary pain, any unnecessary drama, and that's what the red flag is about. So whoever's watching this right now, when you see the red flag, please respect it and know that certain pain and certain trouble in life we may not be able to recover from, or we may have a hard time getting over it, and that's not something that you want in your life. The second thing that we need to consider when it comes to the dangers of ignoring red flag, the second danger is you can potentially lose a part or a piece of yourself. And that goes back to the first danger of that high risk of injury when we do ignore the red flag. So potentially losing a piece of yourself, what I mean by that is whenever we experience any pain or any trauma, or we go through anything that's traumatizing, let's take pregnancy, for example. When a woman has a baby or multiple babies or, children, and just in general, her body is going to change. And from, I haven't had any children, but from what I've heard from most women is that my body is not the same. So what happens is when when a woman is pregnant, everything changes, and the body is not the same. And what happens is the body is basically going through a trauma when you have a baby. And so when we go through a certain process and we go through certain things, and so what happens is that the same with the pregnant woman is that a part of herself is not the same. So when we go through certain traumatizing situations, and situations where we injure ourselves either emotionally or spiritually or even physically, there's a piece of us, a piece of our vitality that leaves us. So whenever we are hurt, whether it be inner hurt or physical hurt, a piece of ourselves, a part of ourselves, we're not going to be the same. Something in us is going to change because we have gone through that situation, and through that change, we can potentially lose a part of ourselves. And sometimes that loss of self could be a loss of a good part of ourselves. Sometimes people go through things and they become bitter. They become angry, they become hateful. And, I've seen people who have gone through things, who have had, a jovial and great personality, basically happy and content people. But because they went through certain ordeals and certain trials in lives, it was a complete personality shift. You don't want to put yourself in that situation because you didn't heed to the red flags when you saw it. And you put yourself unnecessarily in a situation with a person, and because you didn't move with caution, that you can potentially lose a part of yourself because you didn't listen, because you didn't respect your gut. So just know that if you ignore a red flag, you're going to put yourself at high risk and potentially lose a part of yourself, because you put yourself potentially, or you could potentially put yourself in a situation where you can harm yourself unnecessarily. Also, the final danger that I want you to consider, if you choose to ignore a red flag, and if you think you still want to deal with that person, you're going to lose time. See, we only have a certain amount of time on earth, and we don't know when our time is up. And we want to make sure also, this is something that I often say to myself, as I live my life, I want to create as many happy memories as possible, right? But when we put ourselves in a situation because we've ignored a red flag, what you do when you put yourself in an injurious situation is that you are also creating a bad memory. So, and you also want to consider that, if you live to be an elder or old, very old, at that point in life, let's say you have all your mental faculties, because, oftentimes, our elders and those who live to be older adults, there's dementia, unfortunately, which is a horrible disease. And sometimes we lose our memory. But, I have, had a number of, family members in nursing homes. I've done ministry work in nursing homes, and did work with a lot of elders. And I tell you, for those who don't lose their memory, once you lose, a mobility of your body and you can't move around as much, all you're going to have left is your memory. So you want to make sure while you are young and while you have mobility, while you're living your life, and, and while you're at the prime of your life, that you're creating as many good memories as possible. And how you do that is by not ignoring the red flags, because you don't know how much time you're going to have here on earth, and you'll lose time ignoring the red flags. So if you're, let's say, a romantic relationship, so if you're connecting yourself with a man or a woman, and you saw the red flags in the beginning, and you chose to ignore them because you didn't want to be alone. You chose to ignore them because of some sort of insecurity. You chose to ignore them because you were lonely. You chose to ignore them because, maybe they had money or certain things that you liked, or you chose to ignore them because they were good looking and you liked the attention, or fed your ego that this person was with you, but you ignored those red flags. What will happen usually is that you are going to lose time in which we're all on this path of purpose. And when we're on a path, or when we're in a situation where we're exposing ourselves to danger, that is going to create a detour, and that's going to take us off track. And I can't tell you how many people that I know who've gotten involved with certain folks where it's held them back in life, where it's created problems that permanent issues in their lives, or even illnesses, or even financially devastated them because they've dealt with certain people, or emotionally drained them and mentally drained them and spiritually drained them to the point where they weren't able to live a good and fruitful life because they bound themselves to a person that they shouldn't have been with in the first place. And God warned them. Their body even warned them. They saw the red flag and they still didn't respect it. So just know that one of the main dangers is losing not just yourself, not just potentially injuring yourself, but losing precious time that we all don't have to give. Because once time is gone, it's gone, and that's it. We can recoup from, pain and get over certain types of injury, but we can't reclaim time. And you want to make sure that whatever relationship that you're going to be in, whether it's romantic, whether it's a friendship, whatever situation you're gonna get into with business, or whatever opportunity that comes in your path and that comes your way. You want to make sure that you do not ignore the red flags when they come. You want to make sure that you don't want to waste your time on things that can potentially take out the vitality and take time away from your life. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you, those three dangers: the danger of injury, the danger of losing part of yourself, the danger of losing time. These are things that I believe that are very critical to who we are and to our lives, and that the red flag is actually a blessing. So take heed to that blessing. And as always, I wish all the best for each and every one of you who are watching. Remember to trust your gut. If you don't get anything from this video, just remember to trust and respect that gut. God put that feeling there to help you along in life, that we don't make bad choices and bad decisions, right? Even if it's shiny and it's nice and it's pretty and it's beautiful and that it looks good. But sometimes what looks good to us may not be good for us. So that's all I had to share with you in this video. Take care, God bless, and I will see you in the next one.